What's up? So this is just like an ad hoc how to trim a Dutch tank video. This is for a tank that I reset last week. So, when you first replant plants, especially if you had them sitting in a bucket like I did, they're going to be wonky and a little bit ugly. So there's no real point in trying to refine them until they start standing up straight again. And they're just starting to get to that point here. Like they're starting to put on a little bit of new growth after a week. I could probably go another week before I give them a real trimming, but I'm going to be out all next week, so I figure I might as well have a go at it. So first I'm just going to tell you sort of what the plan is and what I see as failing here. So first thing that we're kind of missing is this group on the left, water wisteria, hygrophiletiformis. It is not as dense as I would like, and that's because I just chopped off the tops. Water wisteria does not do well when you just cut the tops off. Like it does branch, but when it branches, it loses a lot of its lower leaves, and the new tops take a while to grow in and actually look good. So it's better to pull it, trim the bottoms, and replant it. The other thing about water wisteria, and this is one of the reasons you kind of got to know your plants, is that the shorter stems grow faster than longer stems, right? So if you look at the Ludwigia Rubin just to the right of it, that's the opposite. The taller stems, as they get closer to the top of the water, they'll actually bolt. So they'll start to grow a lot faster than stems that are more submerged as they get closer to the surface. Water wisteria is kind of the opposite, where the lower light, the ones that are getting less light, are going to be growing sort of vertically a lot faster than the ones in the back. So the fact that it needs a little bit of sort of like rearranging of this group to get it lower now means that a week from now, like it's going to look like almost like a U shape, like sort of like this, like a ski jump or something. So I'm going to take those ones down in front. I'm going to pull them up. You can also see I just did very crude, big bunches in sort of different sizes here, right? That just needs some refining, right? That's like a bunch of different stems that were just shoved in there, and that's not good planting. They do better planted individually and brought to an appropriate height as well, like a little bit lower in front there. Speaking of the Reuben, right, that's just sort of like an ugly looking group. It's okay with me that the bottoms are kind of empty, right? I would get rid of some of those leaves on the bottom because those are clearly unhealthy. A bigger issue for me is that sort of the front row, it's kind of tough to tell there, but the front row of plants are too close in height to the second row of plants, right? So you're not going to be able to see it as sort of just two distinct rows. There's some weird stunting going on because it broke the surface as well, and it's just been, again, receiving kind of abnormal care over the past couple weeks because I pulled everything out and left it in a bucket for probably too long. So it's just not growing super well, but that'll recover. Like this is generally not a finicky plant. So I'm just going to pull those out, sort of trim them to about the right size off the bottom. Again, not sort of cutting across the top for these ones because I want really distinct two rows, and these are kind of bigger plants. And with those sort of like bigger stems, those wider stems, generally you don't want to go for a more bushy look. You want to go for like distinct stems in a group. Right behind it, we've got the Rotala Macrandra Green, and you see that's just got some flyways, right? So I'll just trim those off and give it a muss up and get those stems facing vertical, and that'll look a lot better with just essentially cleaning out those two stems that are growing a little bit too vertically. Next up here is this Lobelia street. So Lobelia cardinalis, it takes to having the top shaved off really well. When you shave the top off, it actually tends to get these sorts of smaller leaves on top, which actually looks really nice, especially because this is meant to be the small form. So that's kind of what we're going for, is this smaller leaf shape here. This leaf, or this street, was really sort of haphazardly replanted, so it's tearing everything out. So I actually want to make it curve around to the left behind the Ludwigia, I think, and move the Ludwigia just a little bit to the right as well. I'm just doing that because if you look at the entire tank, I'm trying to get that at about the 1/3 mark. and it feels like it's just maybe a little bit too far left to me, that Ludwigia. So I'm going to have the lobelia go behind it. So I'm going to arrange the street, and then I'm going to take, you sort of see how we have these like certain tall stems here. I'm going to take all those tall stems down, and I'm going to use the tops of those tall stems and replant them around the front side of the street so that we have like good looking tops in front. And then also it'll give a nice sort of a low entrance to the street, which allows you to get a really nice upward curving backward sort of thing. Ludwigia white, we're not touching, that's converting. Same with the Limnophila aquatica, right? That's just converting. I got it as a tissue culture recently. That tends to get pretty big leaves, so it likes to have sort of separate stem planting as well. This, boost, you just sort of, the secret to boost is just plant it and don't touch it. So get it in the shape you want. Make sure that it's deep enough that the roots are like actually underneath the substrate, so that it's not super ugly. And then just let it grow, and it'll eventually grow these nice blue tops everywhere you want them. I will probably just go around and sort of clean things up to make it look a little bit more organized and make sure everything is planted well, because again, this is pretty haphazard. Not much we can do about the crypt. Again, that's just got to grow in. With this little sort of like streety thing of Penthorum setiortes, that just, you can, as far as I can tell, I haven't had it for a long time, but you can do whatever you want to this plant. So I'm just going to trim this down in front, again, to get that nice sort of sloping up into the back that we're looking for from a street plant. I'm probably going to move this plant on the right here. This is Helanthium boivinianum angustifolia. It's just too dense. It's looking ugly. So I'm going to remove a few of those plants, probably toss them because it's not enough to warrant going to the fish store to sell them, just to get a few bucks for them, and probably switch it over with the Vallisneria on the left-hand side. So that's what I'm looking for when I do a Dutch tank trimming, and I'll show you the results later. Alright, so this is after making those changes that we talked about. Things are looking better. I like switching positions of the two curtain plants and thinning out that Helanthium. I think the wisteria is looking a little bit better. When it comes down to it, while it looks pretty full, there's actually not that many stems in that group, so there's a limited amount I can do with this. And again, that's just a risk you take anytime you chop off the top, is you don't know what you're going to be left with. How long it's going to take some of these little stubs to actually get new sprouts. So I'm just sort of stuck with what we got here for now. But that's okay. This is, a plant to take just takes a long time. It's just iterative, slow. Tried to do some stuff with these, but realistically, they just, again, the Ludwigia rumen just needs time to recover. So overall, a couple things I'd talk about, just having taken another look at this. Two things I think that need to change. First of all, you can see this street on the right looks really good, right? It sort of curves up into the back and has some great movement and flow there, right? You can see almost like this cool sort of circle shape between that street and the Vallisneria and the Hygrophila angustifolia in the back there, right? I think that makes like a really beautiful shape there. But this boost, it doesn't really have a shape, right? It doesn't know what it's doing. I haven't really given it much thought. And I think if I could define what makes good Dutch style trimming, it's just being conscientious about where you're placing things and why you're placing them there and what you want your tank to look like, right? You don't just sort of like place plants in there because you like a plant and you want to see it. You want to make your plants look good, and that's sort of the art of the Dutch tank, is the art of the arrangement. Right, so I need to figure out exactly what's going on with that boost, but I'm not going to do it now because I'm not inspired. I'm going to wait, I'm going to sit in front of the tank, do a quick water change, watch my fish and see if anything sort of comes to mind for how I want to adjust that group. One other thing I'd look at here is I did a little bit of trimming on this lobelia street, but you'll notice that it doesn't have that beautiful swooping shape like the Penthorum setioides does. And that's because it goes a little bit too front to back, okay? And that's really gonna flatten out the shape of this street. So I can move the front of the Lobelia cardinalis street this way, expand it over that way. That's gonna block the bottom of this Ludwigia Rubin. And then I'll take sort of the midsection here and I'll bump it out towards this Ludwigia white. And what that's going to do is it's going to give it more of a street shape. And I think making good streets is one of the hardest things in Dutch aquascaping, so hopefully that helps. I'll go ahead and do that and get right back. Alright, so it's approximately 30 seconds later, and I think that's a better shape for that, right? You can see it sort of curves off and back to the left there. So all I did there was push plants around. I didn't uproot anything, I didn't trim anything, right? Sometimes all it takes is just digging your hand into the soil and pushing the entire group one way or another, just to make a nice little difference there. Anyways, time for a quick grapple vac and water change, and then we'll be done with the trimming session. That's how I trim a planted tank.